The galaxy had never seen anything like the Empire. For 10,000 years they had conquered system after system. Their massive warships moved through space like metal mountains. Their weapons could crack planets open like eggs. Every species they encountered faced two choices: surrender completely or face total destruction. Most chose surrender. The few who fought back became dust floating in the cold void of space. When they discovered Earth in the year 2847, they expected another easy victory. Humans were young compared to other species. Their technology was primitive by galactic standards. Their ships were small and fragile. The High Council laughed when they reviewed the intelligence reports. These pink soft creatures with their short would fall within days, perhaps hours. They sent the primary battle fleet. This was not necessary. Even a smaller force could have crushed humanity, but they enjoyed showing their power. The primary fleet contained over 2,000 warships. Each one was larger than any human vessel. The flagship alone was 15 kilometers long. It had enough firepower to burn entire continents. Admiral commanded this armada. He had never lost a battle in 400 years of service. He considered the Earth assignment boring, a waste of his talents. Commander Sarah watched the enemy fleet approaching on her tactical display. She sat in the command chair of the TSS Defiant, humanity's battlecruiser. Around her, officers worked frantically at their stations. Fear hung in the air like a thick fog. Everyone knew the numbers. Earth had only 300 ships against over 2,000. Their largest vessel was 800 meters. The enemy flagship was almost 20 times bigger. By every calculation, humanity was about to die. But Sarah did not panic. She had spent her entire life preparing for this moment. Born on Mars colony to immigrant parents, she had joined the Terran Defense Force at 16. She rose through the ranks faster than anyone in history, not because she followed rules, because she broke them. She thought differently than other commanders. She saw possibilities where others saw dead ends. Her nickname among the fleet was the Ghost because she appeared where enemies least expected her. The Terran Defense Council had given her full authority over the defense. Some admirals protested. Was too young at 42, too unconventional, too willing to take risks. But Earth President trusted her completely. If anyone can save us, he had said, it is her. Sarah studied the enemy formation. They arranged their ships in a classic conquest pattern: heavy battleships in front, carriers behind them, support vessels at the rear. It was the same formation they had used for thousands of years. Why change what always worked? This was their first mistake. They assumed humans would fight the same way every other species had fought, head-on, desperately, hopelessly. She opened a channel to all Terran ships. Her voice was calm and steady. "This is Commander. I know you are afraid. I'm afraid too, but fear means we are alive. And while we live, we fight. They think they know everything about war. They have forgotten the most important lesson. War is not about size or numbers or firepower. War is about will. And no species in this galaxy has stronger will than humanity. Today we teach them that lesson." Her battle plan was insane. Every tactical computer said it would fail. But Sarah understood something the computers could not calculate. They had become lazy. 10,000 years of easy victories had made them predictable. They followed patterns. They expected their enemies to follow patterns too. Humans were different. Humans had spent their entire history fighting each other. They had invented new ways to kill with every generation. War was in their blood. Innovation was in their souls. Phase 1 began exactly as they expected. The Terran fleet spread out in defensive formation around Earth. They positioned themselves between the planet and the approaching armada. Standard defensive tactics. Admiral smiled at his command throne. These humans were no different from any other species. They would try to hold the line. They would fail. His ships would sweep through them like fire through dry grass. The two fleets engaged at extreme range. Plasma cannons lit up the darkness of space. Terran ships exploded. Metal fragments scattered across the void. Within minutes, humanity lost 40 vessels. They lost none. Their shields easily absorbed the weaker human weapons, ordered his fleet to advance faster. He wanted this finished quickly so he could return to more interesting conquests. This was exactly what Sarah wanted. She watched the enemy formation stretch as faster ships pulled ahead of slower ones. Gaps appeared between their battle groups, small gaps, but enough. She sent a coded signal to 6 small ships hiding in the asteroid belt beyond Earth's orbit. These ships had been there for 3 days, completely silent, completely invisible to sensors. They were not warships. They were mining vessels, but humans had modified them for a very different purpose. The mining ships launched their cargo. Thousands of small objects flew toward the approaching fleet. The objects were not missiles, they had no engines. They did not show up on weapons scanners, they were simply rocks, asteroids, some as small as cars, some as large as houses. The point defense systems ignored them. Rocks were not threats. Rocks could not hurt warships. But these rocks were special. Human engineers had hollowed them out. Inside each one was a compact fusion reactor set to overload. When the rocks drifted into the formation, they detonated. The explosions were not huge, nothing compared to weapons, but they happened inside the enemy shields, not outside. Ships had never needed armor. Their shields stopped everything. Without shields, even small explosions caused terrible damage. 12 enemy battleships died in the first wave of detonations. 30 more were damaged. Chaos erupted in the formation. Ships collided trying to avoid the drifting rocks. Their perfect formation broke apart. Admiral screamed orders. He had never faced anything like this. This was not how wars were fought. This was trickery, deception, cowardice. Sarah smiled. Phase 2, she said quietly. All ships execute maneuver Omega-7. The Terran fleet did something impossible. Instead of continuing to retreat, they accelerated directly toward the enemy. Not in formation. Each ship moved independently. They weaved between vessels like insects around giants. Gunners could not track them. Their weapons systems were designed for shooting at organized formations, not individual ships moving in random patterns. Human ships launched torpedoes at point-blank range. They targeted engine systems and weapons arrays. They did not try to destroy ships. They tried to disable them. A ship without engines was useless. A ship without weapons was helpless. Within an hour, over 200 warships drifted dead in space. But the battle was far from over. Humanity had lost another 60 ships, and the flagship remained untouched, had pulled it back from the main battle. He watched in disbelief as his fleet crumbled. These humans were not fighting fair. They were not dying honorably. They were cheating. He decided to end this personally. The flagship moved forward. Its main cannon charged. A single shot would crack Earth itself in half. Sarah had anticipated this. She had been waiting for the flagship to reveal its position. Throughout the battle, a single Terran ship had been moving slowly through the chaos. The TSS Prometheus was old. It was scheduled for decommissioning. Its crew consisted of only 20 volunteers. Every one of them knew they would not survive. They had written letters to their families. They had made peace with their gods. They had accepted their fate with quiet courage. The Prometheus had been modified in secret. Its cargo holds were filled with antimatter. More antimatter than any human ship had ever carried, enough to create a small star for one brief moment. The ship used the battle as cover to approach the flagship. Its pilot, lieutenant, guided it with supernatural skill. He avoided debris. He slipped between enemy ships. He stayed in the blind spots of sensors. When the flagship's shields dropped to fire its main cannon, the Prometheus struck. It flew directly into the massive ship's bridge section. The antimatter detonated on impact. For one instant, a new sun burned in the space above Earth. When the light faded, the flagship was gone. 15 kilometers of metal and weapons and 200,000 crew members had simply ceased to exist. Admiral died never understanding what had happened. He had fought by the rules his empire had followed for 10,000 years. Humanity had no rules. Humanity had only survival, and humanity would do absolutely anything to survive. The remaining ships panicked. Their admiral was dead. Their flagship was destroyed. These humans were not behaving like conquered species. They were fighting like demons, like monsters, like something they had never encountered in all their centuries of conquest. Ship commanders began ordering retreats. They had no coordination. They fled in all directions. Sarah did not let them escape. She had hidden ships throughout the solar system, behind moons, inside gas-giant atmospheres, among asteroid fields. As vessels fled, they flew into ambush after ambush. Human ships appeared from nowhere. They struck fast and disappeared. They hit engines. They destroyed navigation systems. They left crews stranded in the void. The battle lasted 14 hours. When it ended, the primary battle fleet no longer existed. Of their 2,000 warships, only 73 managed to flee into hyperspace. The rest were destroyed or captured. Humanity lost 142 ships. Over 10,000 brave men and women died. But Earth survived. More than survived. Earth had won the greatest military victory in galactic history. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. Every species who had surrendered to the heard the incredible story. A young species, a primitive species, a species that had dismissed as worthless had destroyed their mightiest fleet. If humans could do this, perhaps others could too. Rebellions erupted on 100 worlds. The Empire began to crack. Commander Sarah became the most famous human in galactic history. Songs were written about her on worlds she had never visited. Species who had never met humans celebrated her name. She received offers to command fleets for a dozen different civilizations. She refused them all. Her place was with her people. Her duty was to Earth. But she never forgot the crew of the Prometheus. She visited their families personally. She told them that their loved ones had saved not just humanity but the entire galaxy. She built a memorial on Luna, a simple stone with 20 names. Every year on the anniversary of the battle, she stood before that stone in silence, remembering, honoring, grieving. The Empire sent diplomats 6 months later. They wanted peace. They wanted to negotiate. They had learned something their ancestors forgot long ago. Some species were not meant to be conquered. Some species were too stubborn, too creative, too impossibly brave to defeat. Humans were such a species. The galaxy had gained a new power, and nothing would ever be the same again. Sarah lived to be 97 years old. She saw humanity spread across the stars. She saw Earth become the capital of a new federation of free species. She saw the final collapse of the Empire. On her deathbed, surrounded by, she whispered her last words. "We are human," she said. "We do not surrender. We do not give up. We fight. Always. Forever." Those words were carved into the stone above her grave. They became the motto of the Terran Federation. They echoed across centuries and across galaxies. Wherever humans went, they carried the spirit of Sarah with them, the spirit of courage, the spirit of innovation, the spirit that told the universe one simple truth. Humanity would never be conquered. Humanity would never fall. Humanity would endure until the last star burned out. And even then, they would find a way to light new ones.